Working through another one of my project vehicle videos here, and today we're going to talk about a truck that I absolutely fell in love with, but absolutely didn't think that I would when I first bought it, and that is my 2005 Toyota Tacoma that I call the Adventure Tacoma. Why did I build this vehicle? Well, once again, I was building it for my television show Four Wheeler. I always have loved first generation 4Runners with the canvas roof in the back and the removable hardtop. But I wanted to do a newer version of that. I always had my vision in my mind to be super, super cool to take a newer Tacoma and put that twist on it, like basically steal the idea of that classic old school 4Runner with the topper on the back. So I started looking for a short bed standard cab Tacoma. I found this one locally. It was high miles and it had an issue with some rust on the frame, so it was super cheap. It was a 4-cylinder. The 4-cylinder was low compression in 1-cylinder. So this truck that probably would have been selling for $12,000 to $13,000 on the open market was listed for $3,500 as is. And I knew that eventually I was going to change a bunch of stuff on it, so none of those things worried me. So I went ahead and bought it, and we started the project. The truck has morphed a lot over the years, but its current specs are as follows. It's a 2005 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. It has a Tundra 4.7 V8 underneath the hood, kept the manual transmission, so it's still a 5-speed manual transmission. Behind that is an FJ Cruiser manual shift Toyota transfer case. It has a Dynatrac Pro Rock 60 Tacoma swapped rear axle in the back. It's sitting on 35-inch tall tires. It has an all-pro Adventure Series mid-travel suspension. So it is a 2-inch over independent front suspension system with Radflow coilover at the front, Radflow smooth body shock in the back with an all-pro leaf. I really wanted it to have that hardcore off-road Baja look, so it has Fiberworks fiberglass fenders on the front and advanced fiberglass concepts bedsides on the back. The reason for the mix and match is because only AFC offered the bedsides for the back with a flat top. Everyone else had what's called a trophy truck arch to the top of the bedside for the Tacoma, and I knew that I was going to be putting a canvas top on the back, and the back canvas top is from Best Top. And I think it really sells the look. It's a great combination of that modern Tacoma built to look like that classic first-gen 4Runner. Funny story about the Tacoma was I knew the frame had a little bit of rust on it when I first bought it, but once I completed the V8 swap and actually had the entire drivetrain out of the vehicle, I could see that the frame was literally rotten. You could like put your finger through the frame in a lot of places, and the truck was almost getting ready to break in half. I found out online that there was a special policy from Toyota for these Tacomas where they would replace the frame on the vehicle if you complained about it inside a certain window. And I actually thought that I fell inside the window. So I drove the truck down to my local Toyota dealer to find out if I qualified for a free frame. And in all honesty, all I wanted from them was a frame. If they had said, you know, we're not touching the truck, it's too highly modified, I would have said, fine, just give me a frame, and that way I didn't have to buy it. But I took it down there, they took one look at it, they said, no, yes, the truck might fall inside the window, but it was too highly modified because I'd welded in different motor mounts and I'd done some welding for the front suspension. So in their mind, that would remove it from the ability to have the frame replaced. They just told me there's nothing they can do for me. There's no way they're gonna replace the frame under warranty, and they're not even gonna give me a frame. So me thinking like a Jeep guy, I thought it'd be simple, just jump on the internet and buy a frame for the truck. But it's not that simple. The Toyota 4-wheel drive standard cab short bed, apparently it's a pretty rare truck. So I could not find a rust-free frame anywhere. I found one, but it was in Maryland. So I wasn't gonna drive up there and get it. So I ended up basically buying 2 frames, cutting them in half and making it into one, because I was able to figure out that I could make a quad cab 4-wheel drive frame work. I just had to shorten it, move it around a little bit, and I was able to make it work. I did a whole video on it for eBay. I'll put the link up here. It was a super popular video, and I had to do the frame replacement. Now it's got a whole new frame underneath it. It's great. Another funny story about the truck has to do with the engine swap. Originally, my plan was to try to find a V6 and just update it from the 4-cylinder to the V6 in the same year of truck. And I started to research online, and Toyota fans are very different than any other type of off-roader, I learned, because I'd find all these forums where people were asking the same question I was. Like, hey, what would be the process of taking the 4-cylinder out and putting the V6 in? And it really was just, there was a lot of, can't be done, don't do it, it's not going to work, it's never going to be as good, go buy a factory V6 truck, sell your truck, buy a new truck. There really were absolutely zero resources on how to do this. I found like one guy who did the Tundra V8 swap on YouTube, a couple other people on social media who'd done the Tundra V8, complete V8 drivetrain package into the Tacoma. So it was a lot more work to figure out how to make the 2UZ 4.7 V8 work inside this Tacoma than I thought. It was way more work than an LS swap in a Jeep. Just the resources weren't there, and just the popularity of it being done wasn't there. Now that I've done it, I think that motor is insane. I absolutely love it. I wouldn't want that truck with anything but a V8 underneath the hood. It was a pile of work, but it was definitely worth it. Stuffing a V8 into this Tacoma completely changed the truck from top to bottom. Before driving it, it was underpowered. It really didn't work well on the highway. You know, the 35s, even re-gearing it with a 4-cylinder, it wasn't a pleasure to drive in any way. But with the V8 in it now, and I think that the right decision was to do the Toyota V8, because that truck now is so rare. I don't know of another manual transmission 2UZ powered pickup truck out there right now, the standard cab short bed. I know there's some automatics, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the only sticks, and it is so much fun to drive. That truck should have had a V8 from the factory. Another funny story about the Tacoma, when I was building it on the show, we talked about how easy the V8 out of the Tundra was fitting into the engine bay. And I received an email from somebody. Now, I don't know how true this is. It's like third-party information. But I received an email from somebody who said that they were actually on the engineering team at Tacoma, or at Toyota, when that generation of Tacoma was being developed. And it was never meant to have a 4-cylinder. It was supposed to have a V6 and a V8 option only. And they decided to scrap the V8 idea because they were afraid it would hurt sales of the Toyota Tundra. And that's why they never put the V8 in the Tacoma from the factory. But I can say, when you take the Tundra V8 and drop it into the engine bay of the Tacoma, all the fuel lines line up, everything just works. And then the fact that the 4.7 and V8s were in the 4Runner and the Lexus and other similar sheet metal and similar sized vehicles from Toyota, I could see it. I could see the Tacoma being offered with a V8 from the factory, and it was a huge mistake that they didn't do it. I think they would have sold so many of those trucks. I don't think I would change anything on this truck. I might just change the order in which I did it. I think I made it harder on myself by doing the V8 swap and then doing the frame swap. I probably, honestly, if I knew where my end goal was, manual transmission, V8, and I knew I needed a new frame, it would have been smarter to do all of that in one shot instead of one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Just made it a lot more difficult, and I was doing a lot of the same work multiple times to get that vehicle running and driving. Then it would be running and driving, and then I'd take it all apart and then make it running and driving again. So I really wish that I had spent a little bit more time planning out the whole project and just tackling it as one big job instead of piecemealing it together. But that's really how you guys probably would do this at home, so I'm glad I did it. And so I wouldn't say it made it any more difficult, it just made it take a little bit longer. The cost to build this truck, that's a hard one to nail down. I would say probably the value of that truck is very different than the cost to build it. That's probably one of the vehicles I have that's honestly going to be worth more money than it was to build it, because of the fact that it is super rare. The fact that it's a manual transmission V8 powered Toyota Tacoma, I don't know of any other ones out there at the moment. I know there's some automatics, quad cabs, but I don't know of any other manual transmission, standard cab, short bed Toyota Tacoma out there right now in the market. So that's anyone's ever done. So that would make it incredibly valuable to somebody. Cost to build it, I'd say 25, 30 grand, not including the cost of the truck. Cost of the truck is hard to judge because of the fact that I got such a good deal on it, but I had to do a bunch of work because I got such a good deal on it. So you see where I'm going with this. Yeah, I would probably say $25,000 to $30,000 could build that truck. Absolutely. One last neat feature of this Tacoma, which I didn't plan for in the beginning, but it kind of just sort of morphed into it because I took it on a trip with my good friends at Yukon Gear and Axle, is the back of the truck is kind of built out as a stealth camper. So I set it up with a full pull-out kitchen in the back and some storage, and I was able to take it on a trip all through Arizona where I literally just climbed into the back of the truck to sleep, and it actually worked great. I'm under 6 feet, the bed is 6 feet long, so I can stretch out completely. I just sleep on one side, all the gear stayed on the other, and because of that, I ended up moving the full-size spare underneath the bed and have a winch to make it go up and down, which is just one other cool feature of the truck. The truck is full of sort of like, you don't normally see this on a Tacoma, and that's another thing that I really like about it, but the ability to just jump in it, take off, go camping, light overlanding I would call it, because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but I think it's perfect for that. I didn't think that I was gonna fall in love with this Tacoma, but I absolutely have. It's probably a vehicle that I drive at least once a week. I've taken it on a couple trips. It's not a hardcore off-roader, but it's great for that light overlanding mix where maybe you just wanna bomb some fire roads, you know, just have a light day in the dirt, but you still have the ability to tackle a few trails if you want to, but then you can also like literally climb in the back and sleep, cook a meal out of the back. It really is a good Swiss Army knife of trucks.